Hey everybody, it's Ashley of Paper Crane Yarns. Welcome to episode 7 of the Paper Crane Yarns Knitting Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a few weeks since I last recorded, and I have some stuff to share with you, including some shop update news at the end. And speaking of which, you can find me on Etsy, Instagram, and Ravelry as Paper Crane Yarns. My Ravelry account is really just for personal knits right now. Eventually we'll have a podcast group. Etsy, of course, is where you can find all of my hand-dyed yarns, like what you see behind me here. I also make project bags as often as I can. I put those on there for sale, and pretty soon I'll have some notions for sale. Knitting needles, wool wash, whatever you can think of, I will be carrying it, which I'm really looking forward to. So as I said, welcome. This is my dye studio / soon to be local yarn store. Today is Friday, August 20th. I've been up since 2:30 in the morning, so forgive me if I'm off by a day or two. Yeah, tomorrow, just a quick word, if you are watching this before Saturday, August 21st, I will be having a shop update if you're interested at 5 p.m. Central Time on my Etsy website, which you can find in the link below, or you can search Paper Crane Yarns on Etsy. A quick thank you to all the people who have been shopping my Etsy and leaving me messages, leaving really sweet reviews for their purchases. All the people who have messaged me on Instagram, it always makes my day when you guys message me, and I try my best to respond, to everybody and as quickly as I can. But people send me their projects, which is really cool when it's from the yarn that I've dyed, but even if it's just projects that, watching my episodes, they've been inspired to knit maybe something similar or to try a technique they were afraid of before. That is just so cool. And I guess when I started this whole podcast adventure, that's really what I was hoping for, was, that community aspect, which I have said in every video, and I'm sorry if I'm like a broken record, but it's just really cool, and it's still so kind of unbelievable that, that it happens, I guess. And so yeah, as I mentioned, it's been a couple of weeks since I last recorded. You haven't missed too much from me. I have been a very monogamous knitter these past few weeks, as you can see. If you watched my last episode, I shared this sweater as a work in progress. So I guess we're getting into the knitting now. I hope you were ready for that. So yeah, my last episode, I showed the cast on and maybe a little bit of the neckline for this sweater, which is Alho by Johanna, who is my most favorite designer, and I've only knit this pattern by her, but her designs are gorgeous and the pattern was so well written. I loved knitting it, and I really appreciate her style of writing patterns. I don't personally work from charts, and she includes both charts and written out instructions for things like the lace pattern. So yeah, eventually I'll be at charts. For now, I just like the written out version. But anyway, so yeah, this is Alho, and I knit this using yarn that's around here somewhere. So I knit this sweater using 2 yarns held double, and it looks like one maybe fell out in my car, so we'll do without. I mean, you can see the yarn, I guess, technically. But this project was using Holst Garn Noble in the Rococo colorway, held double with Ito Sensai in the mustard colorway. So that is a fingering. The Holst Garn is a fingering weight, and I believe it's something like 5% cashmere, some other, oh wait, no, I have the label, just not the yarn. So it is Holst Garn Noble, Rococo colorway, as I mentioned, 95% Geelong wool and 5% cashmere. These come in 50-gram cakes. They're really lovely. I wish I had it with me to show. If you want to take a look at that, you can go back to my previous episode. So this sweater ended up taking, okay, it called for 3, for my size, which I believe was the small, size 3. It called for 3 cakes or skeins of the Holst garn, 4. It called for 4, and it called for 3 of the mohair. I ended up with an entire skein here of the mohair left, plus 2 of these little fragments. I have a second one at home, and this is actually a pretty decent amount. And then as far as the Holst garn, I used 3 full cakes, and I should have waited, but maybe like a gram or 2 of the 4th cake. So I probably could have knit this a little bit shorter and gotten away with just the 3, but that's okay. I really love both of the yarns that I used, so it's kind of nice having leftovers. Plus, I'm not really one to keep stash. I don't intentionally purchase stash. Basically everything I buy I use right away. So yeah, it's kind of cool to have like some leftovers so that I can plan another project with those. I paused my recording and forgot to restart it, so let me try to jump right back into what I was saying. So this sweater, let me show you the lace here. So the lace pattern to me almost looks like little shields. I think it's so lovely, and I love that it goes all the way around the sweater. See? It wraps all the way around, and it is on one wrist. And I really love that it's just on the one. I think that is such a special little fun detail, and that was kind of what called me to this pattern, oddly enough. I forgot to mention, I guess in my excitement, that this is my Rhinebeck sweater. So yeah, you can tell I'm very excited for Rhinebeck because I picked up this project and I didn't put it down until it was over. It's only August. Rhinebeck isn't till mid-October, and I'm already done. So I guess it's time to knit a second Rhinebeck sweater, or should I say my Indian tangled sweater. I'll wear that one to Indian tangled. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this pattern. I'll talk a little bit about the pattern. I don't want to go too much in detail because of course it is a paid for pattern, which I highly recommend if you have any desire to knit this, that you just go ahead and do it. It was really, despite being like fingering weight, it was a really quick knit because it is sort of cropped. The lace I got done in maybe one evening with a lot of hand cramping. But all in all, this was a really quick project. So yeah, great payoff, excellent results. I got a little kind of gapping there I need to fill in, but not too bad. So yeah, neckline, this was a top-down sweater. I started with the neckline. I knit until, a certain length for the lace, knocked out this lovely lace, and then, oh, I should mention, there is short row shaping for the neckline. I got up through about half of it and I stopped because short row shaping is not my strong suit. I'm getting better at it, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I got through about halfway and I got lost as to which one I was on, and I was having trouble finding my wraps. So I kind of just said, let's move on, and I wung it and it worked out. So I'm actually really glad with how the neckline turned out. I think it is perfect. This is exactly how I like a neckline. If it's not like a big boat neck that kind of hangs off, I want it to be farther away like this because I don't want it here at all. So I love the neckline. Then when you get down to the hem, there is more short row shaping. This is where I took the patience because I knew that in this part of the sweater, in this element, it would really pay off and that I would be happy if I just tried it and stuck with it. So The purpose of the short row shaping in this case was, of course, to make the sweater longer in the back and to come up higher in the front. And if you look at the main pattern photo, or through the pattern photos that Anna has on Ravelry, you'll see that she's got hers in the same color, first of all, but second of all, it's paired with a dress, and it's cute because the sweater comes up kind of high, so you get more of the dress, and it just looks really pretty. So wearing it over something or with something high-waisted is really nice with that kind of high-low hemline. And I'll stand up in a little bit and show you guys the sweater, or insert some footage, one of the two. So yeah, really paid off. I finished this on Tuesday of this week. I think it must have taken me around 2.5 weeks or so of knitting, maybe 3. Whenever I last recorded was like right when I started, I suppose. And so I finished it on Tuesday. I put it out to block on Thursday, and when I got home from work today, it was done blocking. So it was dry, so it didn't take that long to dry because it's lightweight, and I was really excited because obviously I wanted to wear it. Despite the insanely hot Alabama weather, I knew I wanted to wear it for you guys. So yep, that is my Alho. I don't know if there's really much else I can say about it other than I am definitely going to be knitting at least one more of these. I have I guess a chronic kind of compulsion to knit the same sweater multiple times. I have 2 Felixes, I have 2 of the Weekenders by Andrea Mowry. To be fair, one is fingering weight and one is her worsted weight version, so it's different. Yeah, I have almost every sweater twice, which is okay with me because, you know, the first time around you're trying it out, the second time around you're a pro, so you know, that's just how I do it. I am probably going to knit a 3rd Felix this winter with maybe a more vibrant color. So the next Alho I do will probably be the black and gray kind of version that she also did as her secondary one. That would go with more of my wardrobe, I suppose, but I do love this color, so I'm really happy with how this turned out. I will move on to my one work in progress, and then that is really all of the current knitting that I have to share. And then I do have my next cast on to talk about, but we'll get to that. Okay, so my next project is called the Spring Sampler Shawl, and this pattern is by Nordic Yarn Imports. I was browsing Ravelry one morning before a 5 a.m. shift, and this pattern came up in the Hot Right Now section. At the time it had 0 projects, so I actually don't know what caused me to just immediately buy yarn that morning within the same hour of finding the pattern, but I did. So here we are. I showed this yarn off I think a couple of episodes ago. I got it from Biscotti Yarns in Canada, and they arrived super quickly. Then they just kind of sat in my house until I was ready for them. So yeah, I'll show you what the pattern photo looks like in a really small printout. So it's really just a very simple garter stitch shawl / wrap, and it's knit in 5 colors, and the colors of course repeat. This has been the easiest pattern I have ever knit. You can do this with any yarn. So they obviously have a recommended yarn, and that's the yarn that I purchased in different colors, but you could do this with any yarn that you've got lying around. The pattern is, this is the pattern. It's a free pattern, so I'll show you. This is it. It's 1 page. There's like basically 2-3 instructions, and then you're done. So a really nice project if you know, if you want something to take with you to hang out with friends, or if you need some car knitting and maybe you're tired of socks, this is a good option. I would say this is a contender. You can find it for free on Ravelry, and I'm not sure if they have, I'm not too familiar with Nordic yarns. If they have a website, I'm sure you can find it on there too if you're not a Ravelry user. Yeah, I highly recommend. And you know, if you've got a large stash and you're trying to figure out what to do with it, especially if you've got some skeins that go well together, yeah, I would say give this pattern a shot if you want a big cozy wrap for the winter. So the yarns that I am using are Sadnes Garn Tynn Line, or Lina, not sure. These are some lovely little balls of yarn. They are made from 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen, and they're very kind of shiny. They are relatively soft. They feel like linen and cotton. This is my first time actually knitting with linen, so you know, it's not 100% linen, but I'm getting the idea. Definitely, I've knit and crocheted with cotton, so I can feel the difference. And I would say that you know, a lot of people have a hard time with cotton in their hands. This has not given me that problem, and my hands do tend to hurt. So this has been fine for me. So if you tend to have that issue, this might be a good yarn for you. Let me show a darker color. They are all naked except for that one now because I am on the 4th color. So this doesn't have the ball band, but you can get an idea of maybe the texture, if it'll focus. Yeah. And really super nice. So I'll show you my version. And it's kind of hard, since I showed you the photo, you can probably visualize what this will look like. If you were just to show this to anybody and say, look at the project I'm knitting, they probably wouldn't quite get it, but this is it so far. This is where you cast on. You guys, you cast on with 2 stitches, which is fun, and I'm sure that's typical for shawls, but I haven't knit a shawl with this shape before, so that's new to me. I mean, I guess the last shawl I knit, I did only the Knights Who Say Knit shawl. I think it started out very similarly, but yeah, this was fun. Once you cast on, you are basically repeating the same 2 rows over and over and over until you get to, I think, the 8th stripe, and then you essentially do the same thing but decreasing. So every other row you're increasing by 1 with a knit through front and then back loop stitch, and it's been so easy and really relaxing. Especially since, you know, I've had a lot of busy days recently. If I have the time to knit, this is great because I don't have to think about it. So anyway, yeah, I just started I've literally done 1 row of the 4th color, and it is basically the same color as my Haya Needles cable, that blue there. So it might be kind of hard to see, but just started on my blue stripe. This one is sort of like a navy gray. This color is like almost like a dusty lavender, and then this one is almost black, and it looks so similar in this lighting. I promise there's a difference. Maybe when I hold up the balls next to each other. So yeah, this is on a 3.5mm needle, and I'm a bit of a loose knitter, so I probably could have gone down needle size to get a tighter fabric. I'm okay with the fabric. I mean, it's garter, so it's very, you know, if I can get my hands on it, it's stretchy regardless, but you know, mine is kind of, it's a little bit, I guess the stitches are looser than it looks like in the pattern photo. It is kind of hard to tell because it's a dark backdrop instead of, I mean, there's not a lot of light peering through, so theirs might even be of a similar gauge, which I haven't checked my gauge. I don't really see the point with this pattern in particular, but yeah, so if you knit this and if you're a looser knitter and you want a tighter fabric, I would say maybe go down a needle size, but so far so good, and I'm really loving this. I think it's gonna be really pretty. I'm kind of visualizing it now like that, and yeah, it's looking how I was anticipating. So especially when I knit my black version of the Alho, I think this will be beautiful. So I'll show you all my colors. One of them is, of course, on the needles right now, but let's see, in order, this is covered in hair is what it is. My hair, dog hair, cat hair, you name it. So this is my starting color. Yeah, that linen kind of gives it like a nice shine and a sheen, especially in these kind of this lighting behind me here. So hopefully this color is coming across, but it's nearly black, kind of bluish. And then it goes to, like I said, this sort of lavender color. It's almost white in the right light, but you can see that it has like a tinge of kind of gray, so it looks sort of purple, which I love. And then it goes to, okay, holding it back here, you can see the difference. Then it goes to a navy, kind of a gray navy, a gravy. Ew. Okay. Oh, can you tell I've been up since 2:30 in the morning? Which is every day for me. That's okay. And then it goes to this, so a much brighter blue, which I'm excited to see when that's knit in, because it's going to give it a good contrast to what's currently going on. And then finally, I have a blush pink. So it, yeah, here in the camera, it, again, no, not those, looks similar to there, but you can see this one's kind of purple, this one's pink. Yep. So when I do the repeat and I get back to the beginning, I was planning this color will end up being next to this blush tone, and that's like a combination I love. And of course this one is on the other side, so it kind of goes from like the pinks to the blues and then back and forth. So anyway, I'm excited to finish that. I won't be surprised if by the next time I see you guys it's done, because I have not cast on any other projects. I do have a pair of socks on the needles that I showed a couple of episodes ago with the colorway called Night Market. It's just some vanilla socks, but I should have been long done with those. But as is typical for me when it comes to yarn that isn't something like an indie dyed yarn, when it's a sock yarn that comes in a ball and it's like a big box kind of, or like a bigger name brand, it is always tangled. And so right now I'm dealing with a really annoying tangle in the yarn. It's like a mini yarn barf, and it's not so bad that if I just cut it out and reattached my yarn, I would not lose too much. I always have leftover sock yarn anyway when it's a full 100-gram ball, but it's kind of like a self-striping, so I haven't taken the time to sit down and kind of do the planning to make sure that the stripes align. But I only have maybe this much of the sock, so if I didn't match up the stripes completely, it would be okay. It's a bunch of very similar colors. I doubt anybody would even notice. I guess I just haven't been in the mood to knit socks. I am definitely a sweater knitter, although I do love my handmade socks. And when I was washing and blocking this sweater, I did pull out my handmade socks to wash them and to put them on blockers, which kind of inspired me once again. So I might have to work on a pair, maybe with some different yarn. So yeah, that is my finished object. That is my work in progress. And now I want to talk a little bit about my next future knitting. This will not be revolutionary in any way. I think just about everyone but me has already knit the Soldatna crop by Caitlin Hunter. That very lovely colorwork pattern, knit in DK weight. I think I'm gonna knit that next, only because I already have yarn for it. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to Rhinebeck in India and Tangled in October. Super excited, unless, I know things, and I don't want to bring anybody down with this talk real quick, but I know things with like COVID are kind of ramping up again, and people are sort of putting restrictions back in place, so I'm just holding out hope that everything is going to be okay, obviously for many reasons, but in a selfish way for October, so I can go to the yarn festival and meet everybody and enjoy all of that, because I've never been to a yarn festival and I've experienced a lot of loss this year. So I want something to look forward to, as we all do. And if you're going to Rhinebeck, or Indie Untangled, you are probably thinking the same thing. So I'm not trying to put it out there that it's not going to happen, but I'm also going to be realistic and not allow myself to be disappointed in case something does happen. But all that to say, I am strictly not buying yarn until then because I want to budget for that trip and I want to absolutely blow money when I get there and buy all of the lovely things that I come across. And if I buy yarn now, that's less yarn I can buy later. So I'm holding out. So yeah, even though we're moving into cold-ish weather soon, maybe not so much in Alabama, but you know, fall's a thing. It gets kind of chilly when it's darker and stuff. It's not always 90 degrees here, although it kind of is. So yeah, a crop top doesn't seem like a bad idea. And I used to think if I did knit the soldotna, I would knit long sleeves because I'm a long sleeve kind of person. But I do really like the way that the short sleeve crop looks, and it's probably a lot to do with the shaping, and they're not very long sleeves. So yeah, it has to be either way. It's got to be a shorter short sleeve or a very like an ultra long sleeve. Like this is almost too short for me. I kind of regret not using some of that extra yarn to knit this longer. Man, I'm rambly today, guys. So yeah, my soldotna, back to that. The yarn that I have is actually really precious, like special yarn to me because my husband, he knew that I wanted to dye yarn and that I wanted to pursue this as a career, a hobby, you know, however I can get my hands on it. He knew I was really antsy to do it. I had been talking about it for a long time, and I came home from work one day from like my day job, and he had this lovely undyed organic DK weight yarn and like a starter set of 4 or 5 dyes that he had picked out. Like he was like, I think these are colors you like. So all in all, just such a sweet gift. And I immediately ran out and bought a brand new pot, something that we didn't cook with, and I started dyeing yarn right away in our kitchen. So the yarn that I have for my soldotna, oh goodness, okay, I'm trapped by yarn. Okay, so it's the DK yarn that he bought me originally that I, with no experience, dyed. So the colors are, I think the yarn is beautiful. It's gonna be a very kind of nutty soldotna. That's what I'll call it, my nutty soldotna. I'm pretty sure it calls for 4 different colors, maybe 5, but I think 4. I have 6 or 7 colors to choose from. So I'm kind of in the stage right now where I'm planning the color work and kind of just putting things together without swatching, because I don't want to, the yarn is really precious, and like I said, I don't have stash, but I do of certain things like the yarn that I dyed originally, and so I'm not gonna cake it all up and just start swatching away. I'm just gonna pick colors. So maybe you guys can help me. Maybe you can let me know what you think looks best together. See, it's lots of like really bright and funky colors. I've got one more here, and this one is already caked up because I thought I would use it at some point and I didn't. Anyway, so these are a little messy, but let me show you each color. And yeah, I would really appreciate some feedback. I was kind of thinking of doing something dark like this for, I suppose you could call it like the base of the sweater. So not the colorwork panel up here, but sort of like your primary color. So this one is sort of like a purple. It's definitely tonal, so it is slightly variegated of very similar tones. So yeah, this kind of purple silvery color. And yeah, this skein has my old label tag on it, which if you've seen my yarn, when it's actually labeled like this one, it's different now, but I kept it on there because I was experimenting. But I have this pale pink, I say pale, it's definitely kind of neon, but it's a paler neon. So I have this one, and I think those look really quite pretty together, so that's a contender. I have this way more intense pink, and I feel like I have to use this. I mean, I do bright pink eyeshadow a lot, maybe not today so much, but here I am winking at you. But yeah, I like this one. I think it's fun. And of course, I mean, these look pretty together. I don't know if it's, I mean, I suppose it's enough contrast, and it doesn't have to be like drastically different skeins of yarn, but it could be. So then I have this one, which is like a speckled version of, if you were to take all three of those skeins and put them together, it's basically this. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe something like this one. It's kind of fun. I have 2 skeins of this, so I could save these 2 and use them together in another project, but yeah, that's an option. And then I have this like very true teal. This one is a semi-solid, so it's basically just teal. Very lovely. I love looking at the twists in yarn. It's so pretty. And I wish y'all could feel this. This is not a base that I sell, because when he bought these, it wasn't really from a place that I could do wholesale with. Maybe now I could, but when I was researching, it wasn't really available in that way. But yeah, I love this base, so I might try to track it down. It's really, really nice. And then I have this one, which is, it's like many different shades of purples and reds and kind of some blues. So yeah, please, you guys, give me some feedback. I'm really not totally sure what direction to go in here. Not that there's too many directions to go in, but if it is a 4 skein pattern, I was thinking I could do something like I said, this is the base. One of these is the bases. I don't want something darker as the base. And then I could do, you know, this color range, something like this. Or if I was to throw something speckled in there, I could do something like, let's see, like this. Or I could have another darker skein in there somewhere. So yeah, please let me know. That will probably be my next project. I don't have really anything else in it, so there we go. I do have 1 skein of sock yarn, and this was from when I first started dyeing as well. It was just sort of an experiment with just playing with dyes more. It's kind of like, if you've watched my previous episodes, I did that like pastel rainbow one that was kind of like Sesame Street colors, and they're not colors that I particularly enjoy, but I do like the socks. This skein I never really intended to sell because it was an experiment, and since we're getting into fall soon, I was thinking I would use this because it's just been kind of sitting. It's orange and black and gray and some white, and the colors are getting blown out. So I might knit just some quick fall socks, but there are so many patterned socks or sock patterns that I really want to knit, like the spring blossom socks. I can't remember who it's by, but it's basically, I think, just like a motif. And yeah, there's these lovely little blossoms that are up on the cuff of the sock. And then there's one I think called the Spring Rain sock. These are all found in my personal Ravelry library, which I think you can view. So if you want to see what I'm referring to, you could take a look in there. But anyway, I kind of want to knit some pattern socks, and I do have, oh man, for all this talk I'm doing of not having stash, I do have a whole big bag of solids that I dyed on 75/25 when I thought I was going to knit a second Nights Who Say Knit, and it's a bunch of paler, like light purples and grays. So yeah, I actually do have a good bit of stuff to work through. Oh boy. Yeah, this is probably only my 5th cup of coffee today. I don't know. I have made 1 purchase recently. I'm really just not buying anything right now, so that, like I said, I can buy stuff later. Plus, I am always investing in the business, so that's where a lot of my money goes. That and Lego sets. My husband and I are building a huge city, and that ain't cheap. So that's what I'm working on. That's my other work in progress, my big work in progress. I'll have to share that one day. We've kind of joked about doing a Lego channel, and when we have the time, maybe we'll do that if anybody's interested. So I did buy a Lila Styles project bag, and if you watch Needles at the Ready, Kevin and Ray, I'm sure you've already seen the kinds of bags that she makes. They had this amazing 80s cartoon bag, and it stole my heart right away because it had He-Man on it, which is my favorite cartoon like of all time. And I was not born in the 80s. I didn't live in the 80s, but I really wish that I could have. The fashion, the music, everything, the cartoons, I love it. So I did go straight to her website and tried to purchase that bag. It was sold out at the moment. I feel like I've gone on there since and saw it restocked, but regardless, I bought another one, and it is Labyrinth Fabric, the David Bowie movie, and that's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time, so I couldn't resist. Yeah, it hasn't gotten here yet, so I can only tell you about it, but if you go to her website, you'll see it. She's got a couple Labyrinth bags, but yeah, hopefully I'll have it so that I can show you next time, because I'm really excited. And since I make project bags, I don't ever buy anybody else's. I hardly even use my own because they take a lot of time, and it's just a lot, you know, it's more lucrative to just put it in the shop. So I kind of don't really have project bags, sadly. I really wish I did, but I don't. So I'm looking forward to getting this one in, and I think it'll be a good size so I can use it for most projects. Yeah, real excited for that. I guess my only other acquisition is this lovely little snake plant over here, and it's not gonna live here. I don't think. Well, my yarn wall basically touches where the walls meet, so I don't want to keep anything right here that would cause the yarn to get dirty. I just put this here for, you know, video magic. Yeah, so I got that today, and that's pretty much it. That's all the shopping I've been doing for knitting and the studio. Well, I know this podcast has already been kind of long, but I have a shop update to show you. So if you are curious, please feel free to continue watching, and maybe afterward I might do a little bit of chat about myself, but I feel like I've been kind of doing that, so I don't know, maybe not. We'll see wherever the podcast world takes us. So yeah, I have some yarn going into the shop tomorrow, and let's see, I'm kind of looking like a Labyrinth character right now. I have some yarn, some new colorways and some old colorways going into the shop tomorrow, and I have 3 bags. So I will start with the bags. So I have this little guy. This is like a really decent sock size. It can fit an entire skein of yarn plus a work in progress. Here, the color is kind of blowing it out. The color, I don't know, the light. It's sort of a burgundy maroon fabric with little birdies on it, of course. Got my label. This is some mohair from my sweater. And then I've got some pretty lining fabric, an ecru colored zipper. And I only have one of these. I will be making more of this style in the near future, but I just have one going up for sale tomorrow. And yeah, sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but I'll have better photos of it on Etsy. So yeah, 5 p.m. Central Time, August 21st. That's one bag. And then these next 2 bags, I'm gonna call these my happy little accidents. So when I sew these bags in particular, and I've only been making these bags recently, I have tissue paper pattern pieces like that I made myself. I didn't make the pattern originally, but I made the pattern pieces out of some tracing paper, and I use the same ones every time. They're starting to get kind of ratty. I need to recreate them, but for now I'm using the same ones. Anyway, long story short, there are 3 pattern pieces. 2 of them go together for making the, you know, the main contrast fabrics on the outside. One is the lining piece. The lining piece is essentially, if you took both of the outside pieces and removed 1 inch, that's the length of it. When I was cutting the fabric for these bags, I guess in my tiredness, I didn't realize that I was cutting the lining fabric as the base fabric of the bag. So after I did some math, I was able to sort of create my own pattern, and this worked out. But these are very long bags, and since this size is like my sock knitting size, I'm calling this style of bag my knee-high bag. They're very long, and I just finished this one, so I need to press it a little bit more, but yeah, let's take a look at this here. So this started as the same pattern. My knee-high socks now. Knee-high socks, my knee-high bags. And I actually really love the way that these turned out, like more so than the regular smaller ones. And of course, if you need a small bag, a smaller bag, the other size, well, I will still be making that, but I'm gonna be making more of these because I think that this size is amazing. It is sort of like lean, so it's not super wide, still kind of easy to transport, but it's very deep. This is just a simple lining. I love this design. I love these colors. But yeah, so again, it's got my label on there. I think it's mirrored, so I promise if you buy the bag, it's the right way. Although that might be fun to trick people, or maybe that's just me. Yeah, so I shall have this available tomorrow. And if this looks familiar, I have made the regular sized version of this before, and yeah, this is one I wish I could keep for myself. I need project bags. And then this one is an Alice in Wonderland themed one. This one's a little bit more simplistic. The top fabric is amazing. I love Alice in Wonderland. I love this fabric. It just has some illustrations of different key elements from some of the scenes. I love these little mushrooms, and you've got the playing cards and the Mad Hatter's hat. Just some fun elements on there. And on the back, I used a different portion of the fabric so you could kind of get more of the imagery. I think this one has the rabbit on there somewhere, but it's like playing Where's Waldo. And then yeah, this is like a simple black base. Again, I need to press it, and then a very simple lining. But I shall have all 3 of these available tomorrow. There we go. And now for the yarn. I'll have to pause for a moment so I can grab it. And pause. Here we go. Oh, okay, yeah, not easy. Let me just carefully maneuver this. This was not as good of an idea as I thought that it was. Okay, so some of these colorways are just, some of them are new, potentially one of a kinds. I mean, I could repeat them, but some of them are completely new colors, and some of these are just additional inventory for things that have either sold out, or maybe I didn't quite have a sweater quantity, and I like to try to keep at least a sweater quantity of colorways in the shop. I do a lot of one of a kinds, but so yeah, I have dyed more of one of my favorite colors, and this is the Strawberry Lemonade color. I already had some of this inventory, so I dyed a couple more. So I've got 5 skeins of Strawberry Lemonade available, and hopefully the camera plays nice. But this is sort of a creamy, peachy sort of base with some kind of pumpkin orange speckles, and some, it's kind of got a variegation, and I just love this one. I think it'd be a really pretty sweater. I mean, that looks kind of lovely, and there's tons of it. So yeah, really beautiful, lovely color. And sets to the side. This is gonna get difficult. I'm gonna move the personal yarn. I wish this was all personal yarn. And yes, this Strawberry Lemonade, that one is available on 75/25 merino nylon, and that's a fingering weight base. Actually, this whole shop update is fingering weight. It's not all superwash though, so those are superwash. I do have 2 colorways in non-superwash, so my next update I'll probably try to focus on worsted weight and maybe some BFL DK. So yeah, if that's more your bag, you can look forward to that. So yeah, okay. The next colorway, I call this Spidey Senses. To me, this is reminiscent of Spider-Man. I think of Spider-Man. My husband, on the other hand, was like, maybe not so much. You should probably have more red if you're gonna call it that. Well, I'm gonna call this Spidey Senses Light. I think I just flourished my pinky like when I said light, and I did not even think about it, but there we go, that's a pinky flourish. So this is Spidey's. What is wrong with me today? Okay, this is Spidey Senses. It is red, blue, silver, black, that kind of thing. And I think this would be really fun socks, or, I mean, honestly, anything you could come up with. Just fun color. Spidey Senses Light. And again, 75/25 merino nylon. I love looking at variegated skeins. It's so much fun. And the way that they knit up is always so exciting. It's like the whole time you're knitting, even if it's a vanilla sock or something really simple like a blanket, you know, garter stitch, what have you, stockinette, it's always fun because every single stitch is basically, it's like brand new yarn, so fun stuff. And my next colorway is again another colorway this is one that I just keep in the shop. It is called Boysenberry, but it's on a different base than the other base I have available in the shop, which is the other one is a 2-ply fingering, which I love, of 100% merino. This is 75/25 merino nylon. In fact, I'll grab the 2-ply. So this colorway is called Boysenberry, and yeah, it's always important to keep in mind that different bases take dyes differently because of the fiber content, and so this one's pure merino, this one has some nylon, so, and of course dye lots, they vary. So this one's a little bit more of like a purple, like a true purple. These lights are really kind of getting me. Oh, hello. I moved you. Now you're crooked. Oh goodness. Okay. Hi. And hi. Okay, close enough. So yeah, 2-ply. That one's currently available, Boysenberry. And so I decided to dye it on 75/25 merino nylon. And this is like my favorite color. This I would wear every day, all day with black. I'm all about this. So this one is a speckled and variegated skein. It's like burgundy pink sort of color. To me, they're beautiful and they're very, very soft. So Boysenberry. I also have a really fun colorway that I was sharing on Instagram as I was dyeing it, and so you might have kind of seen sort of the backstory with this. In the little town where I live and where my shop is, there is a really cool little plant store next to an amazing coffee shop, and I was kind of inspired by this little plant shop's like their color palette on their Instagram and kind of like their marketing and what they go for. So I dyed this sort of based on that, and yeah, I love the way it came out. It's like a very vibrant green and blue with pops of pink and purple. Here you go, try to show you. So this is 75/25 merino nylon, and yeah, lots of fun. A little bit different on camera, but very interesting. I think this would, well, I say this about everything, but I dye these colors for a reason. I think these would be lovely, knit up into a garment or socks or, you know, whatever. So my last, so yeah, my last 75/25 is called Hayride, and this is a very autumnal colorway, so I've definitely started up with my autumnals. And yeah, this one is a lot of fun for me. Definitely variegated and speckled skein. This one is a lot of fun to dye. I'm really pleased with how these ones turned out. Yeah, very fun. So this will be Hayride on 75/25 merino nylon. This is the kind of stuff I absolutely love, is this dye technique. I love yarn that looks like this in particular. You probably know what I mean. but yeah, that's it for that. And quickly, because I've kept you here for a long time, if you're still here, shout out to you. This is my non-superwash. I dyed up 2 colorways, and let's see. So I dyed 2 skeins of this. This is merino, but it's non-superwash. It is fingering weight. I have 2 skeins of this colorway here. This is called Chocolate Graham Cracker. It's a little bit more yellow on the camera. It's definitely more of a yellow toned brown, but it's very it's like a milk chocolate sort of color, and it is more of a tonal than a semi-solid, so it does have a little bit of some pops of darker brown and a little bit of red, but I do love these. And if you're looking to just knit a really classic garment, or even like a nice pair of dress socks or something like that, I know it's only 2 skeins. I am gonna dye more in the future, but there's definitely a good bit you could do with these. And then I kind of have, depending on your version of a sweater quantity, or maybe you're knitting like a crop, or you know, just depending. This is a sweater quantity of a colorway called Orchid, and it is sort of just a reddish purple mauve kind of. I think it's a little bit brighter on camera. The pictures tomorrow will probably be truer to color. They're a little bit deeper, I think, than what's coming across, but these ones are more of a semi-solid. They are a little bit more regularly dyed, so it's definitely more of a semi-solid. But yeah, Orchid. These are super fine merino fingering non-superwash. And that is everything. That is everything I will have uploaded tomorrow. So thank you in advance to everybody who checks out my update, anybody who possibly makes a purchase. I really appreciate any and all support. I am really trying my hardest to get this business really going. I'm a little tired of working full-time hours and then kind of full-time here, and you know, life needs to happen in between. So plus I want time for knitting. I'm not pleading for sales. This is starting to sound bad. Just thank you to those of you who have supported me and do support me, because you're helping my dreams come true. Okay, well, I guess I could, no, I don't know what I could. I think that's it. I should probably go home and edit this and try to get it up. It's already kind of late. I think if I was to upload this tonight, it would be in the middle of the night for some. Definitely past my bedtime. But yeah, I'm gonna go home and try, because my husband and I, we celebrated our 2-year anniversary, wedding anniversary this past week, and tomorrow on Saturday we're gonna kind of celebrate a little bit. So I told him I would try to wrap up all the yarn things before then. So anyway, I guess I should say sayonara. Yeah, I would love it if you subscribed, and I'm gonna try to record more. What are all the other things that knitting podcasters say that we hardly actually keep up with? Yeah, follow me on Instagram if you want to see my chickens and my... Oh, here we go. Okay, I have one little thing to say, and I'll probably think of more. I'm gonna stop myself. Last episode, I forgot to mention the really exciting news, because I ended on kind of like a, you know, probably the saddest note I possibly could have. I did have happy news that week though. I got another kitty. And yeah, there's a cat cafe in Birmingham, which is, I used to live there for many years, but now I live right outside of Birmingham, and there's a cat cafe there. A lovely little place with lovely kitties, and all of the cats there are adoptable through a local shelter. So what more could you want? You know, good coffee, hanging out with cats. I had a kitty, one of my most favorite animals I've ever had. She was so sweet. She passed away last December, and recently I went to the cat cafe, and there was a cat who looked very similar to her, this little boy kitty. He's about 2. He's just a slightly larger cat, which I didn't think was possible because Pluto was a chunk. But Sushi is definitely chunkier. He's so cute. So his name is Sushi. And when I got him, his name was Houdini because he kind of has an interesting backstory. Long story short, he lived with an older woman who she unfortunately was like a hoarder, and she died in her home, and she had a couple of cats, so they had to do sort of a rescue op mission to get all these cats out of the house, and he was one of them. They named him Houdini because he was the last cat that they could not find, and they had to set up a camera to find him. They had to set up, like, you know, a little trap with food in it to get him, and they had a camera on the outside of it so they would know when he got in there. And somehow he got into the trap and ate food and got out of the trap without getting caught. So yeah, he's a little escape artist. So his name was Houdini. But I adopted him, and he has been the most amazing little kitty. He follows me around like a little puppy, and he's just so, so sweet. I mean, this cat, he has never once, I mean, he is so cuddly. He's never, like, he lays out and lets me rub his belly to no end, and has never done the thing where cats will suddenly get that look in their eye and they'll just like, and grab your hand, and then, you know, I probably shouldn't mimic a cat for all of the world to see, but you know how cats are. He's never done that, and yeah, just a very sweet little kitty, my Sushi. Okay, I am signing off. I've got so much more work to do, and that's, yeah, making me a little delirious. So yeah, thank you for watching. Good to see you all again. Please check out my Etsy shop tomorrow or in general, and follow me on Instagram. Please subscribe if you feel like it. All right, good night and goodbye.